Thank you for having me. I'm Yefim Vedernikoff, and I'm here from New York City to talk about how we ship Partiful on Autopilot. A lot of the talks today and a lot of the existing documentation focus on getting you from nothing to something, from an idea to a functioning app, from 0 to 1. What happens next? My talk will be about what happens after 1.0. You built and released your app. Users are downloading it and using it every day from the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. You're hiring a stellar team of designers and engineers who push product and ship features. How do you release your app every week? We're going to walk through how Partiful does it and the lessons and scars we've earned along the way. Partiful who, you may be asking? This is our second App.js, so allow me to reintroduce ourselves. Partiful is the easiest way to plan social events. You can see us at the top of the App Store, closing in on Pinterest, and crowding out Zillow and Ring Camera. Oh, and what's that behind the App Store screenshot? Oh, it's a blog post from Software Mansion titled "Refining an Event Planning App That Won Google Play's Best App Award." And yeah, it's about us. We won Google Play's Best App Award of 2024. Thank you. It's great to be back. Partiful is fun, interactive event pages. Partiful is platform agnostic, powered by SMS, WhatsApp, and now iMessage. It gets everyone on the same page and keeps track of who you met IRL. We take product very seriously at Partiful. In fact, in the week that I've been traveling Europe, first Vienna and now here in beautiful Krakow, our team has shipped Partiful Ticketing, a full ticketing solution for your events, including QR code check-in, Partiful Communities, a new home for your interest-based group chats and gallivants, and React Native new architecture, perhaps the biggest behemoth of the three. We ship these features and more every week, every single week, for nearly 3 years. This year, we will ship our 150th release. I'm going to walk you through exactly how our app gets from a merged pull request on GitHub to the App Store every week and the tips and tricks that make it work. We shipped the app in August of 2023 with one app target, iOS. Now, nearly 3 years later, we have 5 targets: the iOS app, the Android app, the iOS app clip, our live activity, and our app clips live activity. Thank you, Expo, for Expo widgets. I'm sure you know the drill. We had one lucky sucker who was responsible for releasing the app every week, our release conductor, who happens to be my manager, Alex. Hi, Alex. It was a week-long affair. Around Tuesday breakfast, he would start bullying folks to get their fixes in. They would QA the app themselves and ask engineers to QA their own changes. Our solo release conductor could not take vacation, could not call in sick, could not do anything else really without slowing down the entire app release process. This was just one app, the iOS app. We didn't have an Android app yet. This was the era of the babysitter. And it worked up until Alex took vacation in March of 2024. And we had to skip a release that week. So our first attempt was to scale the release conductor from a singular release conductor to the plural release conductors. With the Android app on the horizon, we scaled from one engineer to a rotating team of release conductors, the babysitter's club, so to speak, for those who have read millennials in the crowd. The release was still triggered manually by one of my teammates, but the bully changed every week, freeing up the solo engineer to continue working on product. We systematized the release. We moved the cutoff for changes to Thursday night, built a dedicated QA team to QA the app every Friday morning. We drafted a runbook. The process was now owned by the engineering team as a whole. We automated a little bit of it. We had a Slack bot that posted every Thursday morning to let people know that the release was coming, get their changes in. All that was left to do was to conquer the final frontier, humans. So what is our release conductor role? Our release conductor owns the release every week for that week. They chase down PRs that are needed to make the cut that week. They loop in our QA team. They monitor Sentry for errors. They submit to the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Any hot fixes or any things we catch in QA or end-to-end tests warn us about, they have to hot fix. Or they own getting the hot fix into the release. And in order to perpetuate the cycle and to keep everyone knowledgeable on the team, they're also in charge of onboarding the next release conductor. You can see how the problem started, how the release conductor role started crumbling. It was very manual. In my time as release conductor, I would manually commit over and over and over. You can see in the Git log, bump build number to 1.24.1, build 10. Bump build number to 1.24.1, build 10, take 2. Once more, again. A lot of manual committing, a lot of trying to get changes in the last minute. QA was constantly being pushed later and later and later, sometimes even to Monday, and things were just bleeding, and the cracks were starting to form. And other people could take any release number, since there was no rhyme or reason to the release numbers. Anyone could take any release number and push out a test flight just to test their features, and we were stepping on one another's toes. And one time we even released something that someone thought was the production release, because we were all managing build numbers manually. We pushed it to the iOS App Store, and thankfully we caught it maybe an hour or two after the release went out to real users. And then we rushed an emergency release and were able to salvage it. But who hasn't released, test code in production? So we've always known that Autopilot was coming. Automation is the future, and we wanted to automate more and more. I'm not going to go into the too grisly of the details, but this is a Slack thread from 4 weeks before Autopilot. You can see the reminder bot posts, anyone trying to make the app release cut today. A bunch of my coworkers, including my manager and the current release conductor, Amadou, chiming in about wanting to get their changes in. And then Ramya at 5:30 p.m. on a Thursday saying, every time you all say you can do Friday, my sleep schedule gets worse. And then the same thread continued into the morning. Irene, prophetically replies, we'll eventually have automated app cuts anyway. And then I hit back with the banger, enjoy the mercy while you still can. Mine is merged. So can I make the cut, or people still need some time? The release conductor asks. I think you can make the cut, but I'll have Alex confirm. And then Alex, 10 in the morning the next day, after all this has been sifted through, finally says, my stuff is ready, and we make the cut. Very painful. So here we are, the dawn of a new era. I automated our release. I built our Autopilot. And now, the bot, every time it reminds engineers, whether they're trying to make an app cut today, they know that the app cut is happening. It's not, you can't beg and plead and message in Slack. It's gonna happen. It's only a matter of time before the cut is happening. We're coming up to a year of Autopilot next month, and the best part about it is that no one has noticed. It's been working for so long that we can hardly remember the times of yore. The release conductor team is now 3 fixed engineers who devote a few hours per week to shepherd the release along, but we've automated more and more of the bones. So, quick recap of the macro timeline. From launch to about 7 months in, we had the solo ownership, 1 engineer, 1 babysitter. That started breaking. Team ownership. We had a whole team owning the pipeline, owning the build process. That started breaking. Now we're having the pipeline own more and more of itself. So, how does Autopilot work? What is our secret recipe? Before, it was very manual to decide the version number. We were constantly getting into debates. Should version 2.0 be twice as good as 1.0? We can't release 2.0 until we have this feature or that feature. We must, whenever we launch 3.0, we must reskin the entire app. Everything was just debated endlessly, ceaselessly. We didn't have any automations besides really the Slack bot and some of these EAS build jobs. And so a lot of people ask, when I gave this talk before, is Autopilot just CI/CD? Is it just hooking up your GitHub actions just right and making sure they all sing the same tune? Autopilot is more than that. It's a way to get there. We're moving from high touch and high Slack and lots of messages back and forth to light touch and being able to own very little and still ship at a cadence as our app is growing and our engineering team is growing. So Autopilot looks like a GitHub Actions scheduled job, a cron job that runs every morning, every Friday morning, that enqueues GitHub Actions build job, that then enqueues an EAS build, that then enqueues an EAS submit, and we call this our daisy chain. Builds auto-submit to test flight in Google Play, and the date is the version number. So quick code slide, quick GitHub Actions screenshot of our daisy chain. This is automatically triggered by GitHub, 6 a.m. every morning, or every Friday morning, and uploads it to EAS build. And we also upload binaries to our AI-enabled end-to-end test provider, GPT driver. And so you can see that at the bottom there. We also tag our releases in Git so we know exactly what code was committed. Right now, it's a bit of a mess. It's daisy chaining GitHub Actions together with EAS workflows. We want to get more coherent. Who hasn't suffered a devastating GitHub Actions outage in the past few months? We want to, move off GitHub Actions, maybe onto EAS workflows. But this has been working for us so far. And then the biggest takeaway, if there's any takeaway, is that the date as the version number freed us. Before, all these debates. Now, there's no debates. We know the version number. It's 3.4.10, April 10th, month, day. The 3 is kind of irrelevant. 3.4.17, a week later. 3.5.01, 3.5.08. A week later, we launched ticketing. 3.5.15. Monotomically increasing, no more deciding what version we're shipping, no manual bumps, no conflicts. Everyone is on the same page. If you see a bug introduced in a specific version, you know exactly the date that that bug was introduced. You can go and look for it, look for any PRs that happened around that time. Very easy to see. And as our CEO put so succinctly, thank God we're using dates for versions now. So, as I said, Autopilot, not just CI/CD. We still have the human touch. Human touch, so the build lands in test flight and Google Play internal track automatically Friday morning. The release conductor loops in our QA team, just one person right now. The QA team checks the output of the AI-enabled end-to-end tests and runs any manual tests that the AI tripped up on or couldn't figure out. And then QA gives the check mark, and we're off to the races. The release conductor rolls out the release to our external testers, and then we roll it out over the weekend, where Partiful is mostly used. So over the weekend, we go to a lot of Partifuls. Monday morning, the release conductor checks Sentry, submits to Apple and Google for review. Apple and Google take their sweet time to review. There can be a whole talk about that. The release conductor releases first thing Wednesday morning, and our users rejoice. So what happens when things go sideways? Just a real quick tangent. The nice thing about this pipeline is it works the same way. If QA catches something or a user encounters a crash over the weekend, we cherry pick commit into the release branch, and we QA the cherry pick, and then we go ahead with the release with the cherry pick on top of that release. So the daisy chain is the same infra. There's no scrambling, no figuring out how to rebuild, no manual triggering of builds, no managing version numbers, no managing build numbers. Everything just automatically happens. Hot fixes are solved. Again, just real quick, what does our release look like? Week in the life. 6 a.m., cron cuts the release. Builds land in test flight, Google Play, internal track. QA gives the check. Release conductors submit to Apple and Google. Or we bake it over the weekend. Then release conductors submit it to Apple and Google on Monday, and then Apple and Google approve, and a release goes live. So we now have an automated deadline for when a PR needs to be merged in order to make it into the next release. Thursday evening. There's no more guessing, no more crying, no more bribing your way into the next release. If you don't make this release, there's always next week. That's what I tell them. We struggled so much with versioning. We wanted version 2.0 to feel twice as good as 1.0. But as soon as we let go of that and switched to automatic date versioning, we freed ourselves and started to think about real problems, like how does Partiful make money? The daisy chain works. We're able to kick off a cron job and trace it all the way through to EAS submit. Thank you, Expo, for that. Hot fixes aren't special. They follow the same pipeline. The cron job reduces manual work. We don't have to manually commit anymore. We don't have to figure out what build or version number you're on, what build or version number you're submitting. Automated cron job doesn't have feelings. It just does its thing every Friday morning. Date versioning is easy, and it's free. So I want to leave you guys with just some things we're cooking up next. I'm rethinking some of the things we built, seeing what we can do in the future to speed the release up, automate it more and more. ES workflow migration, I already mentioned. End-to-end testing, we need to deflake our end-to-end tests so that manual QA is cut down more and more, and we give more time back to our QA team. Automate App Store Connect more and more. Right now we still draft release notes, and we have to use the App Store Connect platform. Some of the Slack messages that we manually send now, we can automate more and more. And I'm really excited for the talk by Katie next tomorrow, which is talking about monitoring your release and Expo observability, Expo Observe. And because right now we're using Android Vitals that I check maybe once every couple days to see the last week of data. But it would be nice to automate that as well. So this is how Partiful ships on Autopilot. Thank you so much.